What's up, everybody? It's your girl Ericka from the Classy Climb blog coming to you today. Listen, we just finished the Digital Liberty Tour Atlanta edition, and the city has been beautiful and wonderful weather to me. I had some delicious eats out there at the hotel, but I had to bring Diamond Dave on, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself, you guys, because I definitely want you to know what he does and who he is. But I want you to understand we got a good topic today.
Definitely.
So hit it up. Introduce yourself to the audience for us.
Okay, my name is Diamond Dave, also known as David W. Williams. I'm the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the world, Option Trading Academy. Really glad to be here, and I'm really happy to talk about this topic. Let's get into it, Ericka.
Man, listen, Diamond Dave, you know what the word on the street is. Why is everybody broke?
Okay, why is everybody broke?
I don't think they are.
Okay,
I done drove
you.
through Midtown, and
Definitely.
it's looking like Juicy J. Last night, there was noise, the cars,
Yeah.
the people were out. You know, Cinco de Mayo was Sunday.
Yeah.
They had a Shaky Knees concert, 3-day rock concert. They out there in the mud, the rain. I was shocked. All the vibrant city life going on. But you know, if you go online, everybody say everybody broke.
Yeah.
There ain't no money nowhere. What's the truth here?
Okay, so there's always money out here.
Mm-hmm.
America, the economy is extremely liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm talking about money, I don't mean that you're going to be worth $50 billion.
Okay.
I mean, enough money for you to support yourself, take care of yourself, and start to build for the future.
For sure.
That exists in our economy. One thing about the American economy, it is very liquid. There's always money flowing around.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not, maybe you just got to move to another city.
Gotcha.
But I just think what we have, and I've kind of talked about this before, is we have people that really didn't have a lot going before the pandemic. They had a little bit of a run during the pandemic because they literally made everybody get some money.
Mm-hmm.
Now some of that money has dried up, it's been spent, people have consumed. So now they're kind of going back to what they were. And what they didn't do necessarily is use that time during the pandemic to develop skills, to get educated, to learn things. So as they came out of it, they now have something to go with. And so I think those people are just on the internet, they're kind of teaming up to complain about their situation that they put themselves in.
For sure.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I saw a woman's post and she said, well, why weren't y'all studying and learning anything during the pandemic? And she had like thousands of hate comments where they essentially said, well, we were suffering through a pandemic.
Okay.
People were dying.
Yeah.
This was going on. And it's like, I always tell people, I ain't asking about everybody. I said, why don't you?
Exactly.
We're 4 years removed from the pandemic.
Yeah.
4 years. I was at a restaurant last week in Austin and somebody had a mask on. I said, what you doing?
I feel you.
Because you about to take this mask off and eat in this room with us.
Yeah.
It's in the air.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I go online and I see a lot of doomer videos.
Okay.
I see the sky is falling. Real estate's going to crash. I done heard that for about 4 years now.
Yeah, definitely.
That the real estate going to crash. Now, I'm in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
March 2020, it was $246,000.
Okay.
How do I know? I was trying to buy a house. That same house in that same neighborhood that I let go because the builder had issues, November of that year, 2020, it was going for $496,000.
Yeah.
Now, people will say, well, Ericka, but it's a crash in Austin. I said, well, house is now worth $375,000.
Yeah.
Where was the crash?
Exactly.
What crash? That's it? It ain't going back down to $250,000?
Exactly.
I don't know, Diamond Dave. They said it's going to crash out here. Have you seen crashing in Atlanta?
Have not seen the crash. See more building. See the homes that were expensive before the pandemic, they're even more expensive now.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they go down, they're not going to go down to what they were 10 years ago.
Whew.
I think this idea that there's going to be this real estate crash, and you're going to be able to get a home that you want in a really, really nice area for $100,000 is just not reasonable. A lot of people got to ask themselves, if the real estate market crashes, that probably means that the economy is going to crash.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen to you if you're already not doing well?
Man.
So I think this idea that I'm just going to sit back and consume content around the real estate markets being down, and that makes me feel better about my situation, may be the reason why you've been in that situation for so long.
Sure.
And I think people really want to start to examine that.
You know, and a lot of times people say, oh, I have to go back to school to get this training. They're putting 4 and 5 years into the equation of them doing better.
Okay.
And what is the guarantee in 4 or 5 years from now, the economy won't be worse?
Exactly.
That they're going to spend all this time in college and come out and be like, well, I went to school.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are angry with their parents, Diamond Dave, because they say, well, what's the old saying? Go to school, get a job, you can buy a home.
Yeah.
A lady was very upset with me and said, well, you know, when I was growing up, I'm older than you. In the 80s and 90s, if you had a home or had a car, you was middle class.
Yeah.
I honestly don't ever believe that was a true middle class.
Yeah.
I believe that was a comfortable working class.
Exactly.
If you're working at the factory and your man loses a job at the factory in the 80s, 90s, y'all weren't doing good.
Exactly.
Y'all was doing bad.
Yeah.
I remember MJ Sophie in Fayetteville.
Okay.
T-shirts. And I remember they were closing down and they were shipping the equipment overseas. And I remember my mom was like, "Oh, I can buy 2 or 3 of these machines and we can still do some of this."
Yeah.
And my grandma said, "Where are we going to put these machines?"
I feel you.
And the guy was willing to sell my mom the machines for $500.
Yeah.
And she was like, "I don't know." But I want people to understand it was cheaper then for sure. But I think always in what I'm from the South, from North Carolina, the doctor, the dentist, the corner store, those were middle class.
Yeah.
They were doing great.
Yeah.
They hired people. Am I off with that? I don't know. Where you're from Florida, maybe if you owned a home, that was middle class. That was considered middle class.
I mean, I just think kind of what you're talking about. I think America for a very long time operated the way you could be relatively semi-skilled or maybe even unskilled and still have what you thought was a middle-class lifestyle.
Right.
And I think that because of economic changes, because of the way the world is working, what America's moving to where if you don't have a certain level of skill or you're not operating a certain level of business, you're not going to be able to get that lifestyle anymore.
For sure.
The idea that where I can come out of high school, work in a factory, get a house, get a car, get a pension, those days are going to probably be over for the majority of the population, where you're going to have to either work with a bunch of people or you're going to have to become a very, very extremely skilled with a high demand skill to be able to live that type of lifestyle. And I think people are struggling to accept that reality, and they're hoping that maybe things can go back, but things are never going to go back.
Right.
We're never going to go back to how life was in the 40s, 50s, and the 60s from an economic standpoint.
For sure.
It's just never going to happen.
Man, I think people got spoiled when they let them work from home.
Yeah.
And they like, "All right, y'all come back now." And they're like, "But I can do this from home on my computer." No, you don't have. I think that was, I'm not going to say cruel, but it was almost cruel because it's like, I can do this from home. But that's, if your boss just said, "Listen, your skill level, your pay level, we don't let you work from home."
Exactly. And
that would have been better for people to have an honest moment of like, "Oh no, these people can work from home.
Yeah.
You can."
Yeah.
And no one's saying that to the economy, unfortunately. A lot of health child care centers closed down.
Okay.
Almost 3/4 of our economy's child care places closed down during the pandemic.
Okay.
Why do people think that child care is ever going to be cheap again?
Yeah, I don't know why either.
I don't know where y'all have to realize somebody has to go watch the kids.
Exactly.
If she got to watch her own kids and your kids, there's cost in there.
Yeah.
I don't know where people think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But as far as the house prices, no, I don't see it coming down.
Yeah, I don't see it coming down either.
The cost to repair, rebuild, no, it ain't happening. I tell people all the time, you can go build your own house. Right now, one of the people I know in Houston is like, they got mad because they couldn't qualify for one of the homes they wanted. They went further out, bought a piece of land, put a modular home on it.
Okay.
And the guy was like, "Why don't you just go ahead and build out here?"
Yeah. And
he never thought it that way. I think a lot of people think we're supposed to be in the city close to everything.
Yeah.
And that's just not true.
Yeah. That's what they want to be, or maybe that's their expectation. And, because on your show, my show, we kind of get deep into the financial data. I talked about this before. So we're at 5.5% Fed's fund rate.
Yep.
I think as they start to lower that rate, you're going to see a lot more demand on housing inventory. And I just think that's how it's going to go. And so you may see a little bit of softening in prices in your local area. But then the question is, are you prepared to buy in?
Right.
So if houses go down 10% in your area, are you prepared to move forward with an offer? If you need houses to be cut by 70%, I don't see how you're still going to get a house. And I think people don't really want to accept that. They don't want to look at what you talked about, which is trying to figure out how to do a build maybe farther out in the country because that's work.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to do the work.
They just want to show up.
They want to show up, and they think that the economy is going to accommodate that. And it just won't. So unless they get lucky and they create a government program to put them in a house, it's going to be difficult for them to try to figure out how they're going to get something. Or they're willing to live extremely far, maybe 3 hours outside of the city, and figure out how to make their life work in that particular capacity.
Right.
But we know that urban real estate is going to always be in high demand. It's even more high demand, and I just don't see that stopping. And I think people are going to have to adjust their lifestyle to that, as opposed to thinking that the economy is going to adjust itself to them.
For sure.
Yes, ma'am.
This guy said, "Why do so many people not have $1,000 saved?"
Yeah.
And I told him, we live in a country where you didn't need it.
Yeah.
This is Brandy Williams, owner of Williams Accounting and Tax Services. We're located in McDonough, Georgia. For those who are in the Atlanta area, that is 75 South, exit 218, and make a right. We're a trilingual office. We offer services in Spanish, English, and Hindi. We also offer a tax course starting August 1st all the way through April 30th. It is bilingual. We service in Spanish and English.
The average person can go around and not need $1,000.
Exactly.
We've been set up like, unless you, let's say you out in the club this weekend, somebody knock your teeth out, you get an appendix removal, something dramatic happens. We've set up the economy that, you can wait till this weekend and Uber some.
Yeah.
You can wait the next weekend and sell something.
Yeah.
We've kind of built an economy where people have not had to be high skilled.
Exactly.
I remember someone bragging about, well, my uncle didn't even know how to read, and he made all this money in Detroit. I said, do you want to go back to a country where people don't know how to read?
Yeah.
Where we want to brag about that?
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was, I'm glad he was able to work, get a house, get a home. But somewhere in Germany, somebody should have taught him how to read.
Exactly.
Because now you come up years later, all these people in Detroit are losing their homes.
Yeah.
They don't read contracts.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
Exactly.
That's dangerous. Where my grandpa is in Chicago, his neighbor comes across the street and he reads the mail to him.
Okay.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
Because anybody can send him something and tell him to sign it.
Exactly.
You don't know what you're signing.
Exactly.
So my grandpa was one of those people who owned a lot of rentals in Chicago, and that was his retirement.
Okay.
And he looked at, well, the house is so cheap, you can just buy it.
Yeah.
We don't have those eyes as our grandparents have. We just don't. When I talk about Atlanta, people say, oh, I'm down here in, I don't know, Medunnan, somewhere far south. And I go, well, why don't you buy some other stuff here in Atlanta? Oh, I didn't want to have to put work into the house.
Yeah.
But you knew the city was going to blow.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very interesting to me. They're watching the doomer channels, and people say in the comments, I can't wait for the houses to crash. What if they never crash?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I don't know. And what if, instead, I think it's weird because if I knew I was talking to the doomer channels, a bunch of people that are like under 20, I could get it because they weren't here between like 2005 and 2010.
They weren't here.
And so I could get it. But what we're seeing is even an older generation. And I'm like, well, you were here between 2005 and 2010 and you saw how bad things got. Mm-hmm. So when the real estate market crashed, it took everything down with it.
Yeah.
So, if the markets do crash again, how do you know you're not going to get taken down with it?
Like, what skill have you gotten so far? Are you a nurse? Are you a doctor? What do you do that's so valuable?
Exactly. The way you won't get taken down. And so if your real estate market or the whole overall real estate market does fall, the economy collapses, how do you know it's not going to take you with it? Mm-hmm. So you still won't be able to buy a house because you're not going to get qualified because you're not going to have a job.
Right.
So I think that the escapism of everything's going to pot and I'm going to just sit back and cheer it as if you're not going to be impacted. It's just kind of like this out of your mind. I don't know what it is because I don't experience it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very unfortunate because we do know that if those people don't get something going, 2030 is going to hit and they're going to be in a worse situation than what they're currently in today. And there's always going to be somebody here to feed you while somebody else is going to be doing bad while you're doing bad. Yeah. It's almost like this Jerry Springer show environment. But it's just not going to solve your problem. I feel I'm sympathetic to them, but I just think they're in a very unfortunate place.
I would always call it lack of self-assessment.
Okay.
Like I whenever I hear New Yorkers say, man, I could never live in Atlanta or Florida, they pay slave wages down there. And I always ask them, what is your job description?
I feel you.
And they be telling me they're receptionists, they an admin somewhere. I say, that's about right. That's the pay for that. Yeah. Anybody can come type.
Yeah, exactly.
I could go get one of these college students at Georgia Tech on the weekends to come do it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a gotta be careful how I say this. That's not a skill. But nurses come to Atlanta, they still pay.
Exactly.
Chiropractors come to Atlanta, they pay.
Yeah.
Dentists come to Atlanta, they pay.
Yeah.
Everybody I know with a skill, when they come to Atlanta, they cut a check.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you came from New York and they ain't cutting you a check. That's why I be real confused. I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I kind of see a move where people are moving around.
Okay.
They're moving around, kind of going city to city. And the way wealth is created, you have to have some assets.
Yeah.
And so people keep bouncing from city to city. Oh, I left New York, I went here.
Yeah.
I left here to go there. Even when I hear people say they moved to Florida and they tell me about a house, I'm like, hey, at least you bought a house in Florida.
Exactly.
Right? What happens to those older folks that keep moving around?
Yeah.
What ends up happening to them long term?
They don't build anything you talked about because they're not stable. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily have a home base. And they're often moving because of an economic reason.
Right.
So we talked about before, and you kind of talked about you can be moving because this city is going to pay me more money. But what we see with a lot of people is they're moving to escape this economic situation, thinking that that next economic situation is going to be better. And especially as Black people in the United States, that's something that we've dealt with a lot because many of us were unskilled.
Yes.
So we left the South to go up north, but we didn't have a lot of skills in the South to try to utilize. So we went up north, we had to take whatever they gave us.
For sure.
Some of us went to the West Coast, had to take whatever they gave us because we didn't necessarily have a skill set. So we got to kind of ask ourselves, do we want to get our family off this hamster wheel where I'm doing bad in city A and I heard that city B's better, but let me just run over there and hope that I'm going to just take whatever they give us.
For sure.
And we see a lot of that. I heard people go to Vegas thinking it's going to be better. They end up sleeping in the tent.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, me being from Florida, a lot of people come down there. We have a large amount of people that are unhoused because they come down there thinking it's going to be better and they end up living outside, which you can do in Florida because it doesn't get that cold.
Right.
So I just think people going from place to place because they don't really have a goal. They just are looking for a place where I think it could be a little bit better than what I'm currently dealing with.
Right.
But you're not under the same conditions that our ancestors were. You just really haven't built yourself up.
Okay.
And you need to kind of develop a skill to where you can build from that format and then from there start to figure out what's going to be the best place I want to operate in.
For sure, for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember, throwback, I remember Kevin Sand was telling people when he'd meet young men, they say, oh, I'm just an introvert, I don't work. He's like, nah, I know introverts.
Yeah.
They have great conversations.
Exactly.
You just haven't built your social skills up.
Exactly.
Try that again.
Yeah.
And I would laugh about that, but people aren't really looking at, I have to build some type of skill.
Yeah.
Like even if I move to another city, there has to be a skill. I saw a video and it's a young man, he gets a lot of views, and he literally went from New Jersey to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
From Charlotte, North Carolina to Atlanta, then to Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Now back to Charlotte.
Okay.
And complain about the traffic, complain about money. They're like, man, you need a job.
Yeah, exactly.
You just need a job, brother. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because it's like your audience eventually does turn on you.
Yeah.
And we're kind of seeing people build these silos of discontent.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just find that to be dangerous.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous, and I think it's unfortunate for them, especially and women too. But because I'm a man, I'm gonna speak to men. We have a large amount of men in our society that are not trying to figure out how to be productive, and it's going on for an extended period of time.
Too long.
And it's not good for our society. It's definitely not good for them because you're going to look up and you're not going to have anything built in this world because you just spent your whole life spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
And I think it's very unfortunate because it used to happen to people when they went to prison.
Right.
They're not going to prison. They're on the streets, but they're still going to get the same result
Right.
where it's going to be a 20-year period of your life missing because you really didn't do anything with your life.
Right.
And I think that's going to be very unfortunate because the internet is enabling it, but I don't think it's good for them, but it's definitely not good for our country. It used to be men knew I got to get about something. We have this environment now where you're not about anything. And there's so many, now I can organize with other people on the internet.
Yeah.
It used to be in the real world, you would kind of get ostracized for that.
Yeah.
Now I can go on the internet and organize with some other people that aren't about anything. It's just unfortunate because you're going to look up and you're going to be 50, 60 one day. And what have you done with your life?
Man, I tell people, the people I hear on the internet speaking, these are people we wouldn't let speak at family functions.
Exactly.
This is the uncle
These are
that you
people
be like,
we wouldn't talk to.
go on over there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your weird uncle that never got no job.
Exactly.
He live with grandma. That's your cousin that's always smoking weed, get fired from place. Like these are people we wouldn't really hear from.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with them speaking, but I want us to take it from the context of like, hey, this is the person in real life you not really here. And this is also why I do in-person events.
Okay.
Because I want to see some of the faces behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'll have events and it'll be 80% men in the room. And I'll be like, okay, that's different. And then, or I'll do an event and I had an event in Dallas and we had an office door that was locked.
Okay.
And people got to come by the door and it was like a group of Latino people by the door. And I said, oh, you looking for another building? They're like, no, we're here to see you.
Yeah,
I said,
definitely.
oh, Lord.
Yeah.
So I had to adjust my speech because now we got 9 Latino people in the room. And I'm like, well, thank you. Thank you for coming. And so I think what happens is people who are looking for people who are doing something, I think that's why I have provided some actual in-person events because I think it lets people congregate in the room.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important.
Yeah.
I had one more. I almost forgot it.
But speaking about your events, I think that was very powerful. You having the ability to do that. And then you providing like that inspiration to other people. Because you did an event in Arizona with a brother who's a builder. I know where he's from in LA. I know that kind of environment for him to be able to build himself out of that situation. Be very composed doing his thing. And so you adding that to it. And I'm going to say it again to a lot of people that are watching this online. A lot of the realest stuff in the world is still in the real world. It's not on the internet. So we use this internet as a tool. But some of the realest stuff. So when Ericka's doing events, you want to be in those type of environments because you get to speak to people that want to do something with their life.
Yeah.
Had a conversation with a woman this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Her business is doing great. And you wouldn't know just by looking at her.
Right.
But because she's doing this in the real world, she's able to be successful. And then she has an online presence. But she was at Ericka's event. We had a really good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want people to understand, it's like the real world stuff is still going on.
For sure.
But people do have a right to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I would examine, why am I being attached to this person that's not really giving me anything that's going to be beneficial to me long term?
Right.
Automation and artificial intelligence are changing the world forever. Without the correct skill set, you will become obsolete. My name is Dr. Patrick Dixon. I research how millions of people will lose their jobs unless they retrain.
Definitely.
The Cat Williams, why you have this attachment to losers?
Yeah, unless you're losing yourself. This don't make no sense.
Cat Williams, that was a whole show.
Yeah.
I wonder how long he practiced that before he got there.
Guy's a pro. Been
Man,
doing it
that
a long
guy,
time.
he had that.
Yeah, he's a pro. Been doing it a long time.
He gave a 20-minute monologue.
Exactly.
I said, wait a minute, this is a show.
Yeah, he's a pro.
It was a good show, though.
Yeah.
I ain't even going to knock him. He came to Austin right after he did it, and that thing sold out so fast.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he knows his markets.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Part of why I have a pushback, and I'll kind of end this with this, why I have a pushback against a lot of the doomer channels is these are the same people who, when you ask them what is the solution,
Okay.
and their audience is getting very vocal on what is the solution, they're getting mad now.
Yeah.
Because they're like, here, I'm just telling you the problem.
Yeah.
People, if you ever work at a corporate America's position and you bring somebody a problem, they're going to tell you, well, what's the solution?
Exactly.
That's what they do at work.
Yeah.
If you bring a problem, they're going to say, well, what do you think we should do about this?
Yeah.
And if you don't know, oh, baby, they're going to look at you like, well, what you telling me for?
Exactly.
Ship it on over to HR. Ship it to somebody else because I don't have a solution for you. You need to have one when you come with it.
Exactly.
Part of the problem with these doomer channels is these people offline are buying real estate.
Yeah.
And buying other assets.
Exactly.
And telling you not to.
Yeah.
And this is the part that makes me angry.
Yeah.
Because while you're sitting on the sidelines going, yes, it's gonna crash. This guy's done bought his 5th or 6th house.
Exactly.
And he's going to different markets looking for returns on his capital, which you should be doing. Diamond Dave, now we talk about the stock market a little bit, but
Yes,
you are the expert, and I want people to understand real investors make money whether the market is up or down.
Definitely.
And so could you talk a little bit to them about what you see kind of in the future of the stock market, how it's different from the regular economy?
Yeah, so we see the market now, looks like it's getting ready to go into an expansion.
Mm-hmm.
We need to see how we're going to deal with this interest rate situation.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about the market is that the market will discount what they believe the future to be.
Okay.
So we're at a 5% Fed fund rate. We believe, based on what Jerome Powell said, that they're not going to continue to raise the rate.
Okay.
So what the market historically a lot of times will do, if we believe that, we're going to already forecast that in and bake that into where we're currently at.
Gotcha.
So if I'm looking at a particular stock, if I believe that what's no longer going to be impacted by higher rate raises, I believe it's going to continue to go up.
Okay.
So what we're looking for also, because we're getting ready to go into an election year, my personal opinion is that the market may continue to stay bullish.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are going to be a lot more enthusiastic about it because they believe that the Fed's next step is going to be to start lowering the rates.
Gotcha.
And I believe if they lower the rates, I believe the market's going to go crazy because everybody's
Okay.
going to be happy because their attitude is that it's on now because they brought the rates down. And so that's really what I'm looking for. But regardless of which direction the market goes, me and my group, we were very, very successful in 2022 when the market sold off because we know how to play both sides of the market.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, if you guys want to know more about stocks, I strongly recommend you go check out his channel. He has a lot of free content.
Yeah.
And that'll get you an introduction to him. But definitely, where can they go learn more from you or buy your course from you?
So they can learn more from me. We talk about my YouTube page is going to be Diamond Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Also, www.thehighestpaid.online option trading academy. We've helped a lot of people get the life that they desire by leveraging the financial markets. People really willing to put the work in and kind of understand what's the economic piece to what's going on.
Man, the reason I bring that up is I know so many real estate investors who are kind of sitting, waiting on loans, waiting on property,
Yeah.
and they've taken this time to study stocks.
Okay.
All right. And they're like, man, I love this.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're, posting screenshots. I posted a little screenshot of one trade of SPY, and I thought, I know what I'm doing.
Okay, do your
I only
thing.
made $64, but that ain't the
That's
point.
good.
That ain't the
Some
point.
people that make $64 a day. Yeah, do your thing.
And so I posted it, and people are like, oh, it's about to be on now. But I want you to be able to, you got to have tools in your tool belt.
Yeah.
If something is on hold in your life, you got to be able to have multiple skills at your disposal.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I worry about with these doomer channels is they're kind of like delaying reality.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just going to wait for stuff to crash. Baby, you need to be getting different skills in your tool belt so you can do anything.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say real quick, because I don't want to hold it. if once you understand the markets, you understand the only people that should be waiting for the market to crash are people sitting on a lot of capital.
Right.
If you already are capital challenged,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want the market to crash, because then how are you going to enter the market? And so
Right.
we talked about before, and Ericka talked about, you're kind of letting your attention being leveraged to benefit somebody else's situation, but it's going to be negative to you long term.
Yeah. So listen, you guys, get ready. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for the hype. What is that Spike Lee movie? I can't remember. I can't remember the saying. I done messed it up.
But don't believe the hype.
Yeah, don't believe the hype or
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
Don't believe the hype, right? There is money being moved around. Everybody is not broke. The economy is moving. If you don't believe me on how much the economy is not broke, go check out your local tickets for the women's basketball right now.
Okay.
The resale values is at like $500, $1,000, and them stadiums are full.
Yeah.
So people are bringing their whole family to see some girls that played basketball not even that long ago
Okay.
play women's NBA. On top of the fact, this football season, I truly believe Houston Texas Stadium is going to be absolutely sold out.
Okay.
Last year it was terrible. They
Yeah.
put bags on their heads.
Yeah.
Right? Detroit, if you've ever been to Detroit and see this downtown, the basketball, the football, sold out.
Yeah.
People come out from all the suburbs come in. There's going to be a lot of money moving, and you have to figure out, where can I make money? Is it stocks? Is it real estate? I'm going to tell you right now, be of value to somebody.
Yeah.
Figure out, like, don't bring me just a problem. Bring me a solution.
Exactly.
There was a young man the other day at our event. He said, man, I'm from Florida, Clearwater, Florida. I'm in Nashville, but I can find you some land.
Okay.
I said, hey, man, you can find it. Give me a call, right?
Okay.
Because you never know who is in a position to help or who you can partner with,
Okay.
to be truthfully honest. And so I always tell people, be of value
Okay.
as much as possible in the next 2 to 5 years, because there's going to be some millionaires made.
Definitely.
Some big ones. Big money. I don't know about Elon no more,
Don't feed.
but some big
Yeah,
money.
he'll be all right.
He gonna make it. He gonna come up with something else different.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. This is your girl Ericka from the Classy Climb blog with my co-host.
Diamond Dave, also known as David W. Williams.
All right, you guys. Have a good day.
All right.